Hello and welcome. I'm Sarah Liz and I'm back with another emergency card kit. If you're new to my channel, an emergency card is one where we make the card ahead of time, but we leave the sentiment off. That way, when an occasion arises where you need a card, you can choose the design that best fits the recipient and the sentiment that best fits the occasion. To help you with this, I come out with a free kit for my subscribers on the 1st and 15th of every month that is full of sentiments that you can mix and match on your cards, along with a card sketch and all of the measurements. Let's take a look at the kit. These are winter and new year sentiments, and the first two pages are these circle sentiments. They're 1 3/4 of an inch. This page has a circle slightly larger on it to help you center them and punch them out or use a die. And then this page, I've removed that circle just to make it easier if you don't have that size of die or if you want to use a different shape. We have sweet sentiments on the top and a little sassier on the bottom. Joyful wishes this new year, peace and joy in the new year. It's a winterful life. Snow happy to have a friend like you. The best is yet to come. Happy New Year. Every winter has its spring. Warm winter wishes. Let's get cozy. This year, let's resolve to make better bad decisions. Just nope. I don't know about you guys. I hate the winter. I live in Nebraska. It gets really, really cold here. And so I enjoy making paper projects with winter themes because those are my happy colors. But man, I could just use summer again. Like tomorrow. Does shivering count as exercise? I haven't forgotten you. I'm hibernating. Cheers to the new year. Pro tip, just keep drinking. Happy New Year. Buckle up. Let it snow somewhere else. It's freaking cold. Pray for me. Many of these sentiments were recommended by you guys, and I appreciate that so much. So if you have ideas for other themes for future kits, please put those in the comments below. If you have ideas for sentiments to go with them, even better. Even if we don't use those sentiments, it helps me to know what kind of tone or style you like in your sentiments. Coming up, I'm definitely releasing some kind of Valentine's Day kit. I always make something for my kids. My older son's very crafty and likes to put those together with his cousin. So I'll share what I make for the kids, but then how about Galentine's, Valentine's, snarky Valentine's? If you're interested in that, or if you have ideas for sentiments, please put those in the comments below. I've also had a handful of requests over the past year asking about cards for kids or sentiments for kids, and I would love to know more about that. I have 2 kids and lots of nieces and nephews, but they're an odd bunch. I also am surrounded by very large grown-up children of all ages, including me. I think I'm a kid too. So if you have more guidance for me on what kinds of kids sentiments you would like to see, or sample sentiments, or even if it's in the comments saying, you know what, I don't think I would use sentiments for kids. That's really helpful as I plan the next month or 2 moving forward. Any other themes I would also love to hear about. Okay, so we have our first 2 pages with circles, without circles. Then we have very nearly the same sentiments in strip sentiment form. These are about 1/4 inch. I think there's maybe 1 or 2 where you can cut them out together, right? This year, let's resolve to make better bad decisions. And you're just going to cut that all out together. And then a couple where I kind of split them up or gave you options to use just part of it. So these are slightly different maybe than what we've done before, but the same fonts, same idea. We'll make a card using a circle sentiment today and one using a strip sentiment. And then we have our card sketch with all of our measurements and then ways to stretch the sketch. There will be another video coming out next week where we step this up and look at some fun ways to play with this, and I'm really excited about it. All right, my friends, here's our sketch, and this looks like a lot, but I actually just designed it to show you the different options all on one sketch instead of making you print more than one sketch. So what I'm starting with is an A2 card base. Mine is top folding, but side folding would work fine for this. And then I have a blue card panel, just a light blue card panel. I cut this out of 65-pound cardstock. I don't do that very often, but there's a lot of layers on this one. And I just figured this was a really nice time to use up some of that lighter weight cardstock and reduce a little bit of the bulk if you are going to bring in all the layers. I am going to show you all of them just, for fun. Okay, so I have added that onto the front of my card. Next, I have 3 of these purple rectangles that measure 4 1/4 by 1 3/4. One is going to go all the way at the top. One will go all the way at the bottom. I'm going to do those 2 first, and then I will center this one. If you don't like the idea of using almost 2 full layers of cardstock, you could instead cut 2 strips that are 1/8 of an inch. What I would do is take just a template, right? A piece of scrap cardstock that is 1 3/4 of an inch. And then I would glue this right above it. That's the gap right in between. And so it's going to tell you that option right down here. If you're looking to save some cardstock, or if you've got some little scraps of specialty cardstock, this is a great time to use those up. I'm going to go ahead and glue these down. Again, I like to leave the middle piece for last. It just helps me to center it, so I'm not trying to like estimate 1/8 of an inch and then they don't end up even. But there are my panels, okay? Next, I have these pink rectangles. I have 3 of them that measure 4 by 1 1/2 inches, and they will center onto these darker teal pieces. So I'm gonna go ahead and add those. Once I get those on there, now I've got choices on how I want to decorate this. So one option is to use a 3-inch circle. So that's that purple circle. And I just center it in these top 2 sections, side to side, and then between those 2 sort of darker teal rectangles. And then you can use a 3/8 inch strip sentiment mat. I've got it here on the sketch, but kind of depending on whatever you want to put in here, make that fit your card. So if you like to stamp elements or you like to die cut elements, it's just a nice spot for a little scene. Alternatively, if you don't have a bunch of circle dies, that's why I included these 2 gray mats. So the light gray diamond, I've done in some navy cardstock. It's just 2 1/4 inches square, okay? And that will go kind of here. If I don't use the circle, I'm centering those points right along that 1/8 inch gap. And then the darker gray diamond is a 2 by 2 inch square. So I'm going to mat those together and kind of show you what that looks like. I'll just center it right into the middle. For all of this, I like wet glue. I like being able to wiggle it and make sure that my margins look really nice. Because of the fine tip on this, I'm not getting so much glue that it's warping my 65-pound cardstock. That's the same cardstock I used in the background there. Okay, then I have my 2-inch circle sentiment mat, and that fits just perfectly right inside that lighter blue diamond because it's a 2-inch square, right? And then a 2-inch circle. And I love the way they nestle. So you could do just this instead of the circle and then all of this. I'm going to do both today. I just think it's kind of fun. So it doesn't fit completely in there. All right, be aware of that when you go to glue this down. And I'm going to just avoid the very tips of my corners as I'm adding glue because I'm going to center it on the circle before I put it onto my card. I think I want to pop this up. So I am grabbing my Big Mama foam roll. This is from Simon Says Stamp. Again, I've had this for a million years and it is still going. So I'm going to add some foam tape to the back of this and then I'll be right back. All right, I am just peeling off the release paper from that foam tape. And again, this is 1 millimeter. It's a lot thinner than most foam tape. So I get a little bit of lift, but it's not going to affect how much postage I need on my card. It's really just a tiny bit, right? So then I'm centering my corners right in this little 1/8 inch gap. That little bit of glue on the foam tape gives me just a touch of wiggle room so I can pick this up if I need to, right? And then I'll press that down. I love the little scene on this paper with all these fun little friends. I think I'm going to use this Snow Happy to Have a Friend Like You. So I use a 1 3/4 inch circle punch. And I just wiggle it until I can't see that black line. And then I know that I have it centered and I can punch that out. And I'm going to add this with removable adhesive. That way, if I change my mind later, it's really easy, but I have something on there just in case I'm in a huge hurry, right? And that finishes up card number 1. It's a really versatile sketch. It is great for using up your scraps. These were sort of odds and ends from this 12 by 12 sheet of paper. And I love that I got to save it because it's the penguin. It's that little guy right there. And I just love him so much. All right, for card number 2, I am going to use a black card base, right? So it's just a heavyweight, top folding A2 black card base. And then I've cut the same pieces. I'm using some specialty cardstock here, but I cut these from scraps. I have 3 of them that are 4 1/4 by 1 3/4. And I am going to glue those first at the top and bottom, and then I'll add the one to the middle. I knew I wanted to make a New Year's card, and I was looking through my stash for some black and gold cardstock with some foil accents, and I didn't have any. So I just grabbed a background stamp. This one's from Trinity Stamps. And actually, I love how this turned out. And it can read sort of masculine, but it's not feminine. It's just a great multi-purpose stamp. So I'm going to center these on my gold cardstock, and then we'll move on from there. I want to build a little scene on this one. So I'm going to skip the diamonds and I'm just going to add a 3-inch circle. I've cut this from some glossy black cardstock. I think this one's from Simon Says Stamp. I have one from Simon and I have one from Trinity Stamps, and they're both excellent. I am centering this circle between the top of this gold piece and the bottom of the second gold piece, and then side to side. To create a little scene for my New Year's card, I have these 2 little wine glasses, and on here I did the wine or champagne or whatever it is in 2 shades of glitter cardstock, but really I cut them out of the same color and I used an alcohol marker on the top to darken that because I didn't have another shade of gold to go with that. These are from the Spellbinders Large Die of the Month for December 2023. It's called Cheers to Us. This will be available for purchase starting on the 6th of December and then until the 27th. It's part of the current club, and so it's $27.50 and free shipping. After that, it goes up to $40. So I love this one, and I've got some ways where I've got videos coming out where I stretch it, and then there's another video today that just gives you an overview of what I've made so far. The Spellbinders clubs are an incredible value. So worth checking out, I think. I really dug that one. And then here, I think I just want these to overlap a little bit, right? So I'm going to figure out the placement and then I'm just going to glue them down. All right, I forgot to mention that because the stems are so dainty, I did double up the base of that wine glass just to make sure we weren't going to run into problems with things getting crushed in the mail. On the card sketch, it has a 3/8 inch mat for a strip sentiment, and that would look about like that. Or, I mean, you can put it really wherever you want. You could put a lovely strip sentiment right down at the bottom, but I'm going to dress it up just a little bit. I'm going to use these sentiment labels from Pretty Pink Posh. I have a bunch of them that I've just cut out because I never clipped those apart. And so I have some in that same black glossy cardstock and in that same matte gold cardstock. So I'm going to grab those, and I've just used these 2 dies right here. So I'm going to use one of our strip sentiments. And then what I like to do is take this smaller die that has just sort of the stitching around it, and I go up and kind of see like what fits best on there. And I like that Happy New Year buckle up. I think that's going to fit really nicely. So let's go ahead and cut that out. I like to begin by cutting these apart straight down the middle. I want to split the tick marks so I have some on either side. And then I'm going to cut along the tick marks here. I want to leave them on the bulk of my page. That's just going to help me make sure that when I'm cutting these out, I'm getting my sentiments straight. Okay, so my next cut is for me at the bottom because that's closer to where my sentiment is. And I'm going to line up the bottom tick mark and the top tick mark visually on the edge of my trimmer. I don't trust that my printer created a nice clean angle for me. So I always line that out manually and then I flip it. I want a right angle here. So I want this one at the bottom, flip it over. Okay, and I'm going to trim just a sliver here. And now I know that's a 90-degree angle. When I go through to cut these apart, I can do it very quickly looking only at the bottom tick mark. All right, so here's my sentiment, and I am going to use the finger guard on the inside here to line up like the period, and then on the other side, the H, just to make sure that my margins are the same to start with. But I probably need to trim just a little bit more. I'm going to check that in my little piece here, and it's going a little too far over that stitching. So I'm going to trim off a little bit more, and I just try to make sure that the printing ends at the same spot on both sides. Okay. All right, so I've added 2 extra layers of heavyweight white cardstock behind that just to give it a little more bulk. I think it looks a little fancier that way. And then I think I've decided I want to put this sentiment on the stitched black rectangle. It's going to fit just beautifully in there. And then the black rectangle nests on top of this scallop. So there's actually 3 pieces to each of these if you want. So in the set, you've got the scallop rectangle and then the stitched rectangle, right? That fits right on top of it. And then this is like a little sentiment strip, about 1/4 inch. So if you wanted to, you could use that with the sentiments in the kit, but I find it easy enough to cut that out on my own. I have a lot of dimension, right? I'm going to put it right over the top of this. And so I am going to flip that over so I know where that wine glass is. And I'm going to add little thin foam squares everywhere else. All right, I'm going to add just a little bit of glue, give me some wiggle time. And then I will add that to the bottom. I am centering this kind of in that bottom black rectangle. So that finishes up card number 2. It's sparkly and fun. It has lots of shine. We followed the sketch. We just left off the diamond pieces and then we stepped up the strip mat a little bit and lowered that to better suit the elements in our scene, but use what you have. So that finishes our 2 cards for today. I would love to know which one is your favorite. It's the same sketch, but they turned out very differently, and I love that about it. Let's take one last look at the kit. It is completely free for subscribers. So we have 1 3/4 inch circle sentiments with winter and New Year sentiments. And then we have the same size sentiments, but without that circle in case you're using a different shape. Then we have the same sentiments in strip sentiments and 4 different fonts. If you have ideas for future themes, please put them in the comments below. Any sample sentiments are also greatly appreciated. I would love your input as well on a Galentine's Day, Valentine's Day, Kids Valentine's kit coming up. I did one last year that was a massive. I would like to keep it a little tighter this year and just focus on the stuff that you guys want the most. And then, do you have a use for kids' sentiments? Certainly, I have young kids and I want to keep that in mind. I think some of you have requested that. I would like a little maybe clarification on what kinds of kids' sentiments you're looking for. And then for those of us who just send lots of cards to kids who are 40 and 50 and 60 years old, what kind of sentiments would you like for them as well? My favorite kids' sentiments are the ones that are great for everybody. And then don't forget, we do have our card sketch. I include all of the measurements. If you print this at 100%, this is to scale. So you can just stick your card right on top of there to help you get the placement of all of your pieces. If you are interested in the free download, please hit that subscribe button. And then if you go down to the bottom of the description box below the video, it gives instructions for subscribers on how they can access this free kit. Thank you for spending your time with me. I always appreciate it. And I will see you next time.